Someone will need to introduce Godiva.
Won't that thing be on my
It will
name?
be on her
No,
head.
your name. I mean, why is Godiva here today?
Because
usually
She's a great person.
yeah. I clap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh God.
So yeah, I'm very happy to be here today to sit in for Beth, who is traveling around the world, and working. Yeah. So
Right. Nice to
That's
have
really
you.
not necessary.
no, we have to, you know. Yeah. So I'm thinking about the conversations that have been happening about universal health coverage, right? Health insurance. And when we talk about people getting health insurance, we usually think in terms of physical health. Like if you need an operation, you go to hospital. I don't know if even like most offices that provide health insurance coverage, do they include mental health? For example, that you can say, I used my insurance to go and see a therapist. Because I think that sometimes we need a therapist, you know?
We have therapists. I don't even think we have therapists because no seriously I've gone through things that I thought maybe it would be really nice to have someone to talk to. And who's not a church counselor?
Yes.
Sorry, church counselors. And who's not a church counselor because of certain reasons, obviously. So yeah, and I think I wish I had someone I could talk to, someone who's not going to judge me, someone who's going to listen and not offer advice immediately. Like to just listen and maybe help me walk through whatever it is I'm going through, but then like where do I find them? Yeah.
But when you say going through things, what things do you mean?
Depression.
So I feel like that word is heavy, right? That word is so heavy because what does it mean to be depressed?
No, but G was just saying how it's also kind of become a trend. You know, like when we're back in school, it became fashionable to just say I'm stressed.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
she was just talking recently and saying it's also become fashionable in this Kampala to like
for people to say that.
Yeah.
But I think that also betrays like the misunderstanding, because what's the difference between you have your normal emotions, right? There are times when you feel happy, there are times when you feel sad because the situation around you calls for sadness. Yeah. So when does it move from I'm just sad and I need to be sad for a bit to now I am depressed? I've reached the point where I'm incapable of controlling what this feeling is doing to my ability to live my other parts of my life. Because when I think about depression, I think about it as those moments when you are incapable of managing the sadness.
Yes.
So you, at least the way that I experience it, right? Staying in bed beyond the time that you usually would, or just failing even, because usually you can give yourself a pep talk, right?
Yeah.
That this thing is sad, but come on, we got this, we can move on. Then there are those ones where I think will sit on you, you know.
You said you implied that you have gone through depression.
Yes, I think that of course there's a difference. I'm thinking about situational depression.
But also, is
right?
it something that just like comes and then goes away? So when someone says, "Oh, I've been through," like it's now gone, it's cured.
Because it can be managed. That's what I mean. That's why I'm an advocate for universal access to therapy for free for all people. Because I think that everybody sometimes needs somebody who can tell them or who can listen to them. And this is the beauty about therapy, is that this is somebody who is paid to sit there and listen to you. And your problem, they can't get up and run away, because sometimes you'll be there like, this buddy of mine might think, this girl is so well put together. All along, she has been having trouble brushing in the morning.
That explains the breath. I think we've spoken about a really small part, and I think that would really shock very many people, that maybe that depression is part of mental health. Because as soon as you say mental health, my mind just flashes to the ladies who are naked walking on the street, the man who's eating from the garbage bin. That's who I'll think as in mental health. I think those guys. Mental health.
But that's ill mental health.
So
mental health is actual, like it's wellness.
You said
psychology.
Yes, it just exposes that I don't know. It just exposes that I don't know what mental. Okay, I don't know what this thing is.
Because you can't be mentally ill the same way you can be physically ill, right?
Yes.
There are people who are suffering from debilitating physical illnesses like cancer. I think that's the same thing with the people that we see eating garbage out of a can. That's a mental illness that has gone
so that's
untreated
mental
for
illness.
Yes.
So when we talk about things like depression, does
Anxiety.
sadness also, does it fit the bill? Mental health?
I think
like
sadness is the momentary thing. The way happiness
is like a normal emotion.
Okay.
You get
What about anxiety?
all of that. So anything that like interferes with your psychological, emotional, social like well-being, wellness, constitutes ill mental health. You get.
But so now
So
I'm thinking.
it's anxiety. So when it starts to interfere with how you do work, so I'll tell you, like, I'm anxious more than half the time and about things that I don't even have control over. Sometimes it's so bad. Like, I then look
Are
at
you the
like,
kind
my,
of person who drives
my
home to
to-do
check if you
list.
locked your door?
No, I don't even have to do that because like every door is locked by the time I leave the house. I'm talking bathroom, so I'd like someone can come in through the bathroom to come. Bathroom, then
But
the bedroom, then everything. So
But
no,
I
don't even have
living
to.
as a woman in the world, there are things that you have to pay attention
So
to,
exactly,
like
so
safety.
there's that.
Yeah, we are
No, but
paranoid
that's not
about
even
safety.
that's not even stuff that like I'm anxious about. No, it's like looking at my to-do list, and then like my heart rate just goes like my vision blurs, like for a couple of minutes there. I'm just like, what's going on? Yes, at work, and then I'm like, so I can like talk myself through it. I'm like, breathe. Let's do one thing at a time, and then start on one. But at some point, I'm just like, how did all this stuff like get to my desk? What have I been doing the past 2 days? What you get, or like, am I even going to do it well? Am I? It's crazy.
What do you do when you get those feelings?
I'm not against like seeking help and therapy and everything, and I can't explain why I haven't.
So
But
you're
maybe
going on the
because-
basis of a self-diagnosis. Yeah, you've diagnosed yourself to have anxiety.
Yes. I know. I can. I've read widely about, and I know what it is. I really do, because before, I mean, for things that pass very easily, that's great. Like, oh, I was anxious about that test. I was really stressed, and then it goes away. No, there's this. What do you call it when something just stays
and
with
you can
you,
tell,
and even when something doesn't call for, because people will say no, but
It's
you
not
got
that
this, like
serious, yeah.
you're presenting about this or the other, like I have something to talk about. No, but you know this stuff and everything. I'm like, I know this stuff, but I also can't explain why I'm like losing it, and I can't like feel my legs. I just like jittery and things. It's not something that you have control over. It's not even for lack of like knowledge or whatever you're going to do. No. So there's that. And for me, I feel that while I know that there's help and whatnot, and I'm not that person that says, oh, black people don't go to therapy.
I just
things like that.
just to say that it's this
Because my parents would probably say that.
Somebody of us are walking around with
No, I'm not,
undiagnosed mental
and I
issues
can't say like
because-
why I haven't been or anything, and it's not even the cost, because I haven't found out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So you can't say why
I think
you
I'm
haven't
just
been.
lazy, and then because like
You feel like
I'm
you're in
going
control of the
on,
situation.
Yeah, I'm going on. I don't know if I'm going on well or well enough. I know I'm not, but you get.
You said you've gone through depression, Yvonne.
I think
was it
what
a
I-
self-diagnosis as well?
Yes,
or-
definitely.
Yes.
It was. It
Uh-huh.
was just a period of not wanting to do very many things. A lot of self-doubt, no confidence, and because of that, maybe being immobilized to get out and express myself, or just thinking that I don't think I'm good enough maybe to, I have what it takes to do certain things, and stuff like that. And
Did you seek help?
no, I didn't.
Why?
Because I didn't think I needed to seek
Yes,
help.
yes.
You get
We always just think
'Cause- and
that it will pass,
Yeah,
you'll be
it's a
okay,
phase.
and also because you know how our people are. Like if you raise like this issue with most all the older
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
He's like, hey,
Those
don't
people
be
think
so
of you.
dramatic
Yeah, I
now.
know.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be fine, right?
Yeah. So
You're
it's-
just
it's-
sad. You're just a bit sad. Come and watch TV with the rest of the family.
or
you know?
they'll send someone to talk to you and,
Yes.
and things like that. And I recently also thought I had, like, I was going down a certain path. I would get very mad. Okay. Like livid.
Yeah.
And livid to the extent that my heart would start, my chest would hurt.
Yeah.
And kind of forgetting stuff because I'd be really angry.
Yeah.
Oh no, me, I just have a goldfish memory. I don't think that's a mental health issue. I tell you,
and
it's just
so,
like
and so I kept wondering, and I was like, so
Memory.
what happens to like different women and men who go through these things, and it actually affects to a certain extent, like you, because I know people who forget and start imagining stuff, who start imagining like, Mfanonji, you didn't have to step on me, like, why did you do that? Like, I'm imagining that you've done something which I was most likely like thinking about or thinking that you might do, and I exaggerate like situations and thinking that I was there.
when you kind
country.
of start to like blur reality or something.
Like, what do I do? Where do I seek help? How much is it? What happens to, like, does it even happen to the ladies who are digging?
Without going to Butavika
You get,
and having like,
you know,
But also is a church counselor enough?
Yeah,
because
there's also that stigma.
yeah.
wow, church counselors.
Is a church counselor enough? Because I think that in terms of basic like mental health care, usually in an ordinary family, when you express an issue, most religious families really, you will end up being sent to a religious somebody to talk to you, or to an auntie or whatever. So is that, like, can we think of that as something that is sufficient? Given that it's what most people have access to, is that they go to a church counselor and they talk to them. Is it sufficient to handle the issues that people are expressing?
I mean, I think every issue is different.
I
Everyone
think
is
it's
different.
not a
So,
one
so to say that they're sufficient or that they're not would be, you know, it's ambiguous. It's
Not every issue is for a church
many
counselor.
people. Yes.
So now we have to bring the expert on, right?
Yeah.
Because I know
Tell us
that,
the
of course, we
truth.
can have the conversation, but clearly also our ignorance is coming through in the things that we are saying and the things that we assume about mental health. So it's very nice that we get to have an expert here who has done this work for a while, and I think who will be able to guide this conversation and really provide more concrete, you know.
We are here at Olive's Restaurant and Bar in Naguru, opposite the surgery, which is our new home. Come through, visit this beautiful place for great pizza and really nice whiskey.
I'm glad to have somebody with your expertise here to guide our conversation, because it's very easy to talk generally or just from your unique experience, and yet some issues are really common to many people and so need to be addressed more widely.
All right. Okay. I just wanted, if I may, to thank you, all of you, for allowing me to take part in this program. I'm humbled by the talent and the brilliance and the beauty of all of you. Thank you so much for letting me share this. I'm a clinical psychologist, and that means that I work with mental health issues. And when we talk about mental health, I think everybody's mind goes to where you were going. You know, you're picking garbage from the dustbins and you're naked in the streets. Mental illness is one part of mental health. Mental health is what we all have, or we all aspire to. It is the health of our brain, which is the engine of our systems. Yeah. So what happens is, when you have a mental breakdown and you don't know how to control that or how to cope with it, you are having several things, or there are several explanations. You're having either a chemical reaction in your brain. Maybe there are some chemistry, parts of the chemistry of the brain which are shooting badly, and you end up feeling bad. But there's also the part that is emotional, and the misinterpretation of your emotions or the intentions of others. And that is where mental illness comes from. Yeah. Now then, when you have this system where you, for example, are in a situation where you have to perform and you feel this desperate anxiety overtake, like your,
Like John was saying.
exactly. It's because you are projecting, you're looking at yourself from another person's perspective. You're watching yourself perform. And you don't feel you're doing it well enough, which puts you into a spiral, which takes you down to the point where you're a gibbering rat, and you don't know how to come out of it. Now, this is all mental. It's not illness, but it's feeling unwell mentally, unable to cope, and that is where we have. We don't have to go to the point of being naked in the streets. We want to avoid that. So what we do is we try to put in preventive elements, which is where brings us back to your question. We prevent things from happening. Some people are naturally resilient. Many of us are not that resilient. So what happens is that we lose it. We have days where we're not feeling great, days where we feel okay. It's a balancing act. And those people who are here balance all the way are the very lucky ones. The rest of us go up and down a bit. So what do? You have a primary way of taking care of yourself. If you're feeling depressed, you take time out. You don't disrespect your own feelings and your own behavior. If you want to stay in bed for a day or two, do that. If it takes more than 2 weeks and you're still in bed, we have a big problem. So then, when you have been unhappy for 2 weeks, and this is unhappy to the point where you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to eat, or you're overeating and you're not sleeping enough, it can be either way, then we need to take care of it. But sometimes your body's just tired and your mind is just tired. And to listen to yourself and say, I'm taking a day or two off, it's okay. You have jobs that you can't do that with. I know.
The jobs that you just can't wake up in the morning and say, I'm taking a day to stay in bed.
Exactly.
So you have to keep going. And I think that's what happens, that then that's how things escalate. That because you have to keep going, you have to keep on showing up. This is the meme right now, that adulthood is a scam, because adulthood is about showing up and having everything put together, because that's the expectation from our parents, our friends, our workmates, that you will show up and do what you're expected to do.
Absolutely.
And then it becomes so difficult to have the conversation with people, also because of the issues we were talking about earlier, the different misconceptions. You tell somebody, I don't feel well in my brain, and the first thing is, are you about to be picking Kavera out of a dustbin tomorrow? That's always the first.
Right.
So you find that most of us who are even walking around aware of the fact that we might have we might be unwell mentally. It's on the basis of a self-diagnosis that you do a Google search and you're like, this explains the symptoms I've been experiencing, and so let me see what I can do to mitigate it.
Right.
I'm picking up from that. Sorry to cut you short. I just wanted Elizabeth to tell us, like, what's the scope? Okay, what are some of the conditions that encompass mental unwellness before mental illness? Like,
also, how do you diagnose them?
We're speaking about depression, but I've had friends who are bipolar. I don't know what that means. They talk about mania. They talk about this mania, and then when there's depression. So I just don't know. There's anxieties, there are panic attacks. Some of the things we just see in the movies, but then some people are actually experiencing them. So I think it would also be good for you to just tell us what are some of,
Gotcha. All right, then let's start with what you brought up. Bipolar is when you have a tendency to both be depressed and to be manic. Manic is when you have a high mood. So it feels a little bit like you're drunk, but a nice drunk, if you like. So it's when you feel very confident, are very self-assured. I can do anything. I can absolutely achieve all my dreams. And then you go from there and you topple down into a depression. So you have a manic phase and a depressive part. And that swing from one to the other is what is very disturbing for a lot of people.
It's like two personalities.
Exactly, exactly. Now then you have that condition, which is actually a mental illness. It has to be medicated in most cases. That is bipolar. You have two levels of bipolar, so let's not go into the details, but there is a level which is not as bad as the extreme one. You can have a high and a low and a high and a low. It's not this kind of movement. Many of us have that, the high and low and the high and low. And it goes undiagnosed, you deal with it. We all know how to deal very often with mental illness. So many people are walking around with mental illness and we don't know. They're high functioning depressives. There are people with schizophrenia who might hear voices and they'll pick up a phone and talk to their voices and look like they're actually talking on the phone. So we have a lot of people who function whilst they're crazy very well. And then you have the ones who really fall off the edge. That's a different case altogether. Depression is sadness and discomfort and a sense of I'm no good. I'm unworthy. I can't do anything. I'm useless. That is just a way you talk to yourself. Now, if I were to come to you and say, you're useless, you are really not any good. And if somebody else said that to you, you would be angry.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, but you say it to yourself, and this is where the problem comes in, because you have this thought, I'm no good. It passes like a dream. You don't even grasp that you've had that thought, but it takes away your energy. So one of the things that a psychologist can do is to help you catch those thoughts that take you down, to become more aware of what you are thinking, because this is all about how you are thinking, yeah? What you're thinking and how that thought ruins your day. And what you can do once you've got that thought, what you can do to stop it from ruining your day. Because if you have a thought, I'm useless, nobody loves me, and then you think, what is the evidence for that? Is it really true that nobody loves me? Is it really true that I'm useless? And if you can find a way of thinking yourself out of that cycle of negativity, that is the sort of skills we try to give people so they can take care of themselves at the end of the day. Medication is good. It stops your neurotransmitters, your chemistry from going completely crazy if you have a chemical depression, yeah? But if you're just having a psychological, a mental, or a behavioral, a thinking, a feeling problem, this is something you can take care of on your own. You just need to have the skills to be able to do that. That is what we do. Right.
So medication is for extreme cases.
I would like people to make a difference between what medication does. Medication takes away the symptoms. So if I'm feeling bad, medication will take the edge off that feeling bad, yeah? But you want to heal. You don't want to just take away the symptoms.
Yeah.
Now, if the symptoms are extreme and you have schizophrenia, bipolar, take the medication because that really helps control it. But if you have simple things like depression, a mild to moderate depression, deal with it yourself. That is what I would say, yes. Medication helps, but it's not the end all.
So do you find, especially with the work that you do you find that Ugandans are open to seeking for support when they feel that they have mental health issues? I guess I'm asking a question about numbers, but also of your perception of people's comfort with this kind of interaction with somebody like you, who is a known professional, you know? Do you have clients who don't want to be seen with you in public?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, and that's understandable. Yes, there is a huge stigma around this whole thing, and it's not just Ugandans. I think all over the world, there's something terrible about having your engine out of order. So yes, we do have trouble with that, but I would like for people to think of it this way. HIV was once something we were ashamed of admitting to. I think there are still people who are ashamed, but there are people who will say, yes, I am HIV positive and I am seeking help. I want us to think about wellness as a right. I will seek help for my physical and my mental well-being. So if you have a disease that can be treated, it seems a bit non-productive to not seek and get that treatment if you can get it, because it will help you function better and perform better and feel better generally, and therefore you will be a better parent, a better worker, a better person, simply because you feel in control of your life. When you're not in control of your life, that's the worst situation to be in.
So you're speaking about getting help. Apart from Butawika Hospital, I don't know any other place I think I'll go to for meant to be diagnosed or to talk to someone or to tell a friend that I know today I've come to know you today, but apart from that, I don't know what is it like in Uganda, like in this profession. Are there many people, psychologists, psychiatrists? There's also that one I don't understand too. Yeah. Where do we get help?
That is such a good question, and I have to admit that we have not been good at actually advertising, and it's difficult to advertise, and we're not very many of us. So let me say this, that I'm working with a group called the Medical Concierge Group. This is a group of doctors, and we're trying to get together a mental health arm to their services, and we want to reach out into the rural areas, into the urban areas, for people who can't afford this so easily. We're trying to come up with something innovative, and this is what we want to work on next year. So we are hoping that we'll be able to reach larger parties of people, but there's also other NGOs. Strong Minds comes to mind immediately. That's for women mostly, who are doing some of this work. But that doesn't make it really easy for people to find out. So the Medical Concierge Group is coming up with a directory which will make it easier for people to find out where they can get a hold of people. And we are going to work with making it easier for people to reach and get help. In Butabika is the third level. That is where people go when they're really not well. There's the first, exactly. There's the primary and the secondary levels. Primary is where you go to get some medication for a cold, because depression, anxiety, these are symptoms of physical unwellness, a bit like the cold is. When you get pneumonia, you go to the secondary level. You don't have to go to hospital, but you have to get medication. You have to see the doctor 2 or 3 times a week until you get better. That is what happens in mental illness when you get a moderate level depression, for example, anxiety that is paralyzing. That's where you go. And then the third level, Butabika, when you've fallen off the bandwagon completely and you have schizophrenia. Takes a while to get there. So what we want to do is to put in structures so that you can take care of yourself by simple means before you get to a point where you have to go to Butabika. That is something we're working on. I can't give you an answer right now, but I will let you know as soon as we have something on the ground where people can go and get information.
And I'm also interested in something that's accessible, but also that's friendly for most people. Because of course we understand the situation that we live in as Ugandans. Our society has certain ideas about certain groups of people or certain kinds of behavior, and then that affects the abilities of members of certain communities, for example queer people, to have a healthy relationship even with a therapist that you found.
Yes.
So I'd also be interested in, you know, something like that,
Yeah.
services that are accessible for all Ugandans.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is something that we will do. It will be a service available for all Ugandans, whatever their beliefs, their behaviors, whatever it is that they have, we will be open to them. That is an absolute basic right. Yeah.
Okay, last question for me. So say I have a family member or a friend who I notice might be going through something, and so maybe they're visiting a specialist and things like that. How do I support them?
Yeah.
What's the, I don't know, the unprofessional support that we can provide to one
Absolutely.
another,
Yeah. I think one of the first things we have to remember is how scary it is to not be well. So if somebody's having schizophrenia, they're having depression, severe depression, it is very scary because you actually feel that you're never going to get better. And so staying with people, many of us get afraid. We're afraid of people who are unwell because we find them unpredictable. We're afraid that they might be violent. It is in the very, very rare cases that people who are mentally unwell are violent. So they need to be treated as people. You don't have to say, yeah, I believe what you believe. You know, if they're talking rubbish, then that's okay. But what you need to do is to say, look, I understand that you're talking rubbish and maybe you don't know, but it's okay with me. And I'm sitting here and listening to you, not understanding very much, but I'm your person, I got your back. That kind of talk is something that will be compassionate and will help them go down a little bit in the hype that they're in. It'll calm them down. Yeah. So calming down people because they're scared, it's like taking care of a child who is afraid. If you slap a child who's afraid, it doesn't take away their fear. Yeah. So be gentle. Yeah. Is that helpful in any way?
Very helpful. And also
Yeah.
I feel like the way that you say the things that you say is very, you know. So yeah, I'm very happy that we got to have this conversation, and I know that there's so much that we can't capture in the short time that we have. But also I'm glad that you've mentioned the medical concierge group, and so we know that we can look for you.
Yes.
And that we can find you if we need you.
I put the medical concierge group on the
Yeah.
on the map. They will. Yes, we will do something together.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you very
It's
much.
been a pleasure having a conversation.
Absolutely the same here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I feel calm for
Yeah, she's
I might call you.
Brilliant.